Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Sam, for that introduction. I'm really pleased to be here and to be able to share my journey, and in the hope that it does help someone here today. The common ground that we have is that we all care about the creative industry. We care about being creatives and being able to express ourselves um, and naturally as creatives, but also as professionals as well. And I would like to kind of start from the beginning, if that's okay. You know, myself, I didn't sort of just start in a creative industry. What I mean by that is it's taken a journey, it's taken a while to actually get to this point where I am now a creative entrepreneur. Um, my background is in economics. And for, the first, let's say, 21 years of my life, straight academic, I, went to Westminster Kingsway College. I studied maths and English and economics. I then went on to higher education, studying economics at university level. And following that, I then went into work in finance. Now, the reason why I want to start there is because I want to kind of help people to understand that being a creative or becoming a creative entrepreneur, as I am now, isn't something that you just stumble across. It's actually what I would describe as a calling. And, when you're as for many of the students that are watching this or may watch this later, when you are an academic or you are at uni or college and you are studying, a lot of the time, what you are doing is you're working towards a job, you're working towards having a profession within something, not just the creative industry. And so growing up, my thing was I just wanted to be a successful person in life. And so I knew that I needed a good education and needed skills to become employable. But after working for years in the finance industry and then later in the property management industry, I kind of found myself lacking something. And what that was the entrepreneurial spirit that I had throughout my younger days outside of education, outside of the working profession. I I felt like there was something that was missing. Now, I'd like to take you back to my earlier days before all of that, and being a child, 8 years old, being introduced to, music. And I remember my mum signed me up to join the East London Orchestra, and I was introduced to playing my first instrument. I played the French horn. I know I don't look like a French horn, typical French horn player, but I know how to play the French horn. And my mom kind of just wanted me to have something to do outside of school and to engage with other kids and to be able to sort of just develop a skill and go to an after school club. And it was from that moment that I actually started to develop a love for music. And so I guess running parallel to my academic life, studying your traditional maths, your Englishes, and I studied economics, I would always look for ways to get involved with the music crowds. So fortunately for me, not so much these days. There were youth centers growing up in the 90s, and I was able to actually attend youth centers and get involved with other people who were creatives and who were involved in music. And that passion to do music literally stuck with me throughout my life. And anyway, if you fast forward to, the point in my life, 2018, where I then made the steps to actually invest in myself full time as a musician and as a creative, I guess there are some key things that I would like to share with you as to how I got there, and perhaps maybe some of you may be going through some of these same feelings and thoughts in your own personal journey. So, first thing I found was I wanted to give myself an opportunity to become a musician, to become a creative, and to be able to have a sustainable opportunity to actually work in that profession. But I didn't have any experience. I didn't have, I wasn't effectively, I hadn't gone to music school. I hadn't, you know, I'm a self-taught creative. So I wasn't actually, I didn't go through the academic system to learn any of my skills. What I had to do was every time I would finish work, I would leave at 5 p.m., rush home, turn on a computer, find whatever free softwares that I could find at the time to start dabbling in some of the things that I wanted to do, which was music creation and things like that. I, over time, started to develop those skills. And then I would go and share those skills with other people, friends, family, anyone that was willing to listen to me rap or produce music in any way, shape, or form like that. And after getting positive feedback over time, because you don't start off good, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't matter what line of work you're trying to do, we all start from somewhere, and your work won't be great when you first start as a creative, but that is not to worry, because it's through learning and practicing and doing your 10,000 hours, as they call it, that you then become a good, creative or professional in whatever you want to do. So I guess really, first is to understand what your interests are, and to find a niche, find a problem that you can maybe see in your community, in your spheres of influence, and see where you can actually provide a solution. And so for myself, I had many friends who were like me, had gone to school, gone to college, gone to university, didn't take any breaks, then wanted to get a job to then pay off our student loans and make sure that we were financially stable. But then they also had this creative spirit and creative entrepreneurship spirit within inside of them that they wanted to develop, but hadn't, like myself, perhaps, traditionally gone to school to study those things that they wanted to do and develop those skills in an academic institution. So it's finding the time, is making the time to actually find to effectively develop your skill, to then be able to, carve out a lane for yourself. So finding that niche, working with others, I think is also one key thing to understand. What I mean by that is, if you look around now, it doesn't matter, again, where you want to go in your journey, but there are other people who have gone before. There are organizations that are already providing, and people that are already doing what you do. Find those people. And for myself, I think one of the best bits of advice I could possibly give, even more so now in 2022, is network online. Especially if you don't have time to attend events or workshops or exhibitions. It doesn't matter whether you do fine art or whether you do videography or whether you do music. Find time to network online, because you are going to be, most likely the people here are going to be working professionals or students, and it means during the best part of your day, you already have a vocation, so you may not have the time to get to things like events or workshops. So using your online tools is a good thing, but find a way to work with others, collaborate. I think the next point I wanted to make is staying motivated. For many years, I whilst working in the city, I I almost felt like there wasn't going to be a way for me to actually do what I love doing, just because it was the responsibility and the pressure of doing a 9 to 5 and having a job and having responsibilities to my employer. But you have to find a way to be motivated, whether that's through reading, whether that's through networking with people in the areas that you want to go down, whether that's through just watching videos, whatever medium that looks like to you. Stay motivated, because it's within that motivation that will then fuel you making those steps, making those actions to actually develop yourself, develop your skills, develop your learning, to then be able to go ahead and potentially have a career in your creative fields. Also, I guess another thing that is very important is, the ability to fund yourself. I mean, for myself, being a musician, I needed equipment. I needed tools to be able to actually create. And so one of the easiest ways for me to do that was to effectively save my money, save the money that I was making from my 9 to 5, to then put into my craft, put into myself. And I think that's one of the easiest ways to do it. If you're a student and you're getting student finance, it's just looking at how you can manage that to effectively invest in yourself and get yourself the tools, the canvases, if that's what you need as a painter, or hardware or equipment if you're into production like myself. It's finding those methods to actually save a bit of money, to actually invest in yourself. And if you're watching this and you're already a small business or a creative entrepreneur or somebody that's already working in your field, then it's about reinvesting your profits, reinvesting your profits back into yourself, so that you can continue to develop, continue to gain the equipment and the skills that you need to go on. I guess the next part of my journey, which I would like to touch on, because to summarize, I have been an academic, always worked throughout my whole life, but always had a passion for the creative industry and wanted to see what that looked like in terms of building a career for myself. So again, throughout my time working, networking, developing skills in my not 9 to 5, they call it the 5 to 9 hours, coming home, dabbling in music, developing my craft, to get myself to a point. And that took years, if I'm honest with you. And I think, in fact, before I go into the next point, I think that's something that I will touch on again later, but everything counts. All of your experiences count. So whether you're now currently just in a WhatsApp group with a couple creatives, whether you're in your schools, colleges, universities, and you're around your creative friends and people that are doing things that you're interested in, anything that you get involved in, good. And sometimes the things that don't quite work out, they all contribute to your experiences, and will help you to understand how to effectively navigate your career. So everything counts. Yes. Okay. So the next thing I would like to talk about is
sorry, can I just interrupt? I think if you got a pad, I think it's rubbing against the microphone a little bit while you're talking.
I'm really sorry about that. Yeah.
That's all right. I just don't want it to muffle what you're saying. That's all.
All right, thank you for that. So the next thing is, so now, okay, so we go to 2018. I'd like to kind of give you a picture of what that looked like. So I'm currently a manager working for a property management company in the city, and I have now accumulated maybe 10, nearly 12 years of self-taught experience in the creative industry outside of my work. And I've been able to share and offer my skills to people and businesses in the community. I found the niche, my niche, and how to offer my skills to people for effectively a profit. And I then said, you know, it's time for me to actually take a leap of faith and, yeah, you know, quit my 9 to 5, which was one of the most difficult decisions I've probably ever had to make, and give myself an opportunity to actually carve out a creative career. So I guess for some people that have gone through the academic route, that might be a little less unorthodox, you know, from studying a creative skill to then going into a creative job is a more seamless route, rather than, you know, someone like myself who was working in a totally different industry to the creative industry, and then sort of making that jump into this industry and being able to somehow, I guess, yeah, make a career for myself. Okay, I was very nervous about the decision. I was effectively, you know, doing something that was life-changing. None of my family wanted me to do it. No one that I knew thought it was a good idea to leave my 9 to 5. But I took that leap of faith and I made the move. I went into doing a job, becoming a director. I landed a job at Capital Extra as a film director, and that was the inception for me leaving my 9 to 5 to a point where I had a effectively, yeah, a career job, let's just say, in the creative industry. How did I get there, you might ask? Well, before I said everything counts, and during the years leading up to it, I did a lot of free music videos. I did a lot of event filming for people. I used my skills that I'd accumulated over the time in music and also in film to offer my services. And those particular jobs that I did, projects that I worked on, were noticed, and I was then offered a job, basically. And so I then stepped into the creative industry. And I'll be honest with you, when you start something creative, more times than not, you will pick up and get other ideas on more ways that you can expand your learning and expand your skills. And that was the same process for myself. So over the past couple of years, I've, you know, played different, let's say, roles within the creative industry. Although, yes, my goal at the beginning of this whole journey was to become a musician, you know, branding was something that musicians needed. And so going into branding and learning how to help brand, and just working as an intern and assisting people that I knew were photographers or designers, and just helping them out, just to get their experience, was how I did it over those years in my spare time. And then from branding, you then go into things like visual art, you know, photography, you go into film and motion. And so I then interned in those areas, doing a lot of free jobs and gaining the experience to be able to develop my skill in those areas. And then getting to a point where, you know, people were actually willing to hire me to actually do these particular jobs. So now working as a freelancer for Capital Extra, doing this work as a film director, but then getting all these other jobs that were coming in as a result of the skills that I was offering throughout the years leading up to it, meant that I could then start thinking about transitioning from a freelancer to actually having a business, a production company, which would effectively house and source those jobs and work for myself, but also be able to offer opportunity to other people who I had met along the way, worked with, and be able to effectively create what is now my current business, Fortune Favours Productions, which is an audio and visual media production company that services, we have a two-tier system. So we do business to business and also to business to client structure. So I guess that isn't everything, but that is that in a nutshell. I think one of the key things to remember throughout all of this is that is the key of maintaining relationships. Some of the opportunities that I've actually gained in the creative industry weren't just from creative friends or creative jobs. Some of them have come from people that I had met in the workplace whilst working my 9 to 5, or even in my past when I was working with a lot of youth work and youth centers and organizations that were in the community to try and give young people an opportunity to gain skills and provide alternative education. And just because I myself as a young person then went through those organizations and moved through those processes and learned so many things along the way and built up relationships, I am now in my later years now, as a working professional in the creative industry, still able to tap into some of those relationships because I kept watering those relationships and made myself available to people whenever they needed that, or needed my services. So I think that's something that's very important to consider. And I think this probably leads me on to the next part, which is, the skills. Whatever part of the creative industry you may want to be in or currently are in, I think is important to understand that not everything is about the work you do. Some things are about who you are, and understanding that, what we like to describe as soft skills, just being able to communicate well, to communicate effectively, to maintain your relationships, to do as you would do when you were at university or in your job, whether that's in retail or, finance or property, all these industries that I've worked in along the way, getting in on time, being able to communicate effectively, being a good listener. All of these things will help you in the creative industry because it really is about learning, especially at the beginning. And to be honest with you, you don't stop learning. Again, I said it before, but being an entrepreneur in itself, I believe, is a calling. If you're looking for short-term gratification, then that route, that way, that career path might not be for yourself. But if you want to continue to develop, I think one person must have told me in the creative industry, the creative industry does not have a destination. It is a journey. This thing that we go on, it is a continual journey of discovery. It's about building a path for not just yourself, but for the future, for your business, for your brand, for your client. So it does not stop. There isn't a destination. It's a continued journey. So it's good to really consider all your options at this point and stay the course. Even if you're going through times where you're a bit confused, you don't know, you've got ideas, but you don't know where to what real avenue you want to go down, or understand what career, path or title that you want by the end of it, don't worry. Part of being a creative entrepreneur is having the confidence that it will all work out. But you also have to stay the course. You really do. And it's very important to not beat yourself up if things go wrong at some stage, because failure isn't where it ends. It's kind of like a lesson towards the future, to your future self. That failure today is a lesson to your future self. So if you apply for a job today to, I don't know, become a junior editor, just know that it's not about being well versed in your softwares or your programs. It's actually understanding that you should be confident enough to go into a space, be able to listen, soak in information, be able to communicate well, not be afraid to ask for help. And that's actually some of the key things that make a junior editor worth hiring. Some people understand, businesses understand that, especially as a student, you're not going to have it all. You're not going to have it all there. You're not going to be totally ready. But if you are malleable to information and you're able to work well as a team and not be afraid to fail, then you will, be an asset to any company, any organization that hires you. So really do, sharpen your soft skills, I believe. I think that's will be one of your biggest assets, your mannerisms and just how you present yourself, and making yourself available and willing to learn. And that's always helped me, and it continues to help me, because even as a businessman now, there's still other businesses that have gone before myself and are bigger than my company, and there's always something to learn. There's always something to gain from the experience of others. And I think that's also something that I would like to touch on as well. For myself, some of the mistakes that I've made getting to this point as a creative is that I didn't give myself a chance to sometimes learn fast enough. What I mean by that is, there may have been times within my career where I believe that because an employer or a client contacted me for my service, not that you're not confident that you can deliver. However, it's also important to empathize with the person that's actually, contacting you to give you that opportunity, and to understand their needs and their wants, and be willing to learn and understand those. More than anything, it's just as important as you learning your skills and being able to deliver something. And I think one thing that I would like to say actually is, if you're listening to this actually and you are just starting out, so you're literally just starting out, or you're an undergrad or a grad who has got some level of experience now, but you're now trying to take that step into the creative industry, work for yourself professionally. The difference between where you are and where you want to be, that gap in between, that gap is called opportunity, and that is really what you are looking for and what you need. And opportunity comes, as they say luck is preparation, times opportunity sometimes. And I think for you guys, looking for those opportunities, whether you're looking through a digital way, using your LinkedIn's, using your social media services, contacting organizations directly, sending your emails out, brushing up your CVs, going to events, going to workshops, whatever that may look like, do not stop seeking those opportunities, because those opportunities will come, but sometimes they will come not directly in the places or in the way that you may see. Sometimes it may just be from a relationship that you've built, in your universities or in your workplaces, but those opportunities will come, so it's about being intuitively open to those opportunities as well. And I think that's also another part of the creative process that I've learned over the years is having the mindset that opportunity will come, but you also have to make sure that you are aware when you are in that space that here is an opportunity, here is a niche, here is something, a problem that I can see that I can help with, and I can use my skills or develop a skill to deliver on. And that is also another key part of this journey as a creative. So I hope that's helped. Yeah, that's.
Thank you, Albert. That's great. Yeah, I totally agree with that as well. Sometimes an opportunity comes along and you're like, oh no, I'm not ready.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It
kind of being
happens.
ready. Oh, the cat's going to stand up now. I had a cat on my lap. Yeah, I have loads of questions written down, which I wanted to ask. Please, anyone has any questions, do chuck it in the chat or put your emoji hand thing.
Yeah, sorry, I've been rambling on for quite a while.
No, it's great. It's great. So let me pick out a question. Oh yeah, what would you say your biggest asset has been throughout your career? I know you said about learning and relationships and things like that, but is there anything that kind of stands out that you feel like has really served you well through the years?
Yeah, I think my mindset to want to, I think is a two-tier thing. My mindset to want to learn, but to want to help others. I think those things are two things about myself that have helped me throughout my journey to becoming who I am today. Even my mum will always tell me little things about being a youngster, being like 2 or 3 years old and holding her shopping bags, even though I was too young and too weak to hold them. It's like I've always wanted to make an impact. And I think, that's actually another thing, if you don't mind me saying, Sam, like for you creatives, especially the ones that are at university level, stepping into the big wide world, what is the vision and impact that you want to make on the world? What does that look like to you? And as long as you hold on to that as well, that mindset to hold on to it, even when it gets hard, even when opportunities aren't, overtly, there for you, holding on to that, because whatever line of work you go into, if you have a vision and an impact that you want to make on the world, that will give you the motivation at times and will continue to be the driving force behind any work that you do. So I think, for myself, my mindset in terms of always wanting to learn and always wanting to be of service, basically, and help others. I think that was something that has been an asset for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you mentioned about, looking at your community or communities that you belong to,
Right.
physically and online, and problem solving, because I guess the creative industry is basically a load of problem solvers in a way.
Yes, most definitely.
It's a really good point. And I mean, you say about continuously learning as well, and obviously juggling that job that you need to have to make the money to eventually fund your way into the creative industries. Like, how do you find time to carry on learning?
Good question, Sam. I think for me, it's again, it's a lifestyle. It's being an entrepreneur isn't something you can switch on and switch off. However, you will get to your destination a lot faster with structure. So I think planning is very important. Making a plan throughout, even if it's just note taking day to day, you know, things that you would like to work towards, whether that's self-development or whether that's you know, an external thing like equipment for your creative or your creative tools, but noting things down and tending to that on a daily basis. I think for me, I remember going to work and I would literally on my lunch breaks do all of my, you know, all the research that I would want to do for that particular day on my lunch break. So I'll go into work, have my vocation, but use my lunch break as in that hour that I have to, you know, tap into something that I wanted to do in the creative industry. And then, or even on a train home, it literally it was almost like I was living and breathing the creative industry simultaneously while I was still working and even when I was studying. So I think, but now actually, you know, the difference is I'm not juggling, let's say, my 9 to 5 anymore, but I get to my goals a lot quicker with planning and with structure, you know. And also I think what's very important, if you don't mind me saying, Sam, is accountability partners, you know, the people that you're around, you know, getting yourself into groups, having friends, having people that will hold you to the things that you want to that you want to achieve and that you say you would like to do. I think that's always been very helpful for me. Thankfully I had a very supportive friendship network, and so they always knew I had a passion and a talent for the creative industry. And they would always be like, you know, they would always see me and or call me and be like, you know, how's that going on and where's that project and when do I see this? And those kind of things are very, very important as creatives as well, not to isolate yourself. Even if you're an introvert, like I said, there are still online tools, there are still ways to connect with other creatives and have accountability partners, even using online tools. So I think structure is very key, and and making, even if it's one day a week where you take stock of what you've achieved for that week, or even if it's an hour, whatever that is, you know, taking stock of what you've achieved, what you haven't yet done, because there's so many things that you might not have yet done, but taking that into the next week and ticking that off. Don't leave it. Don't you know, everything counts, basically everything counts. So make the time in any way, shape or form. I find Sam, you and I were speaking earlier, but I find sometimes even before a job, I will just literally touch in with my business partner, and you know, sometimes we'll just run through what it is we want to achieve for that particular project, but we'll also, you know, take some time to actually see what we can actually, how much more value we can add, if at all possible. So that requires research, that requires us taking some time, even if it means going to the pub and having a drink and going over it, but we will find the time. And I believe if you want to do anything in life, the same reason why many of the people that will be watching this have gone to university and dedicated a set amount of years to learn and to develop themselves, because they want that particular outcome. If you want anything worthy or worthwhile, you will put that time in, you will invest in yourself, and you will stay the course to make sure that you get there. So, you know, there's no excuses. You can do it, and I think naturally you will make that effort to get there, as long as you don't give up.
Yeah, definitely. It's really important to celebrate those little wins, isn't it? Because otherwise it feels like you're just kind of coasting along and you're not actually achieving anything. But if you actually look back, yeah, I actually have done quite a lot.
Yes.
And it all adds up.
Definitely.
Yeah. Charlene's actually put in the chat that for her, juggling her 2 children and 3-day-a-week office job, which she loves, and then being a youth dance practitioner, teaching and mentoring in dance, to then run my own events. God, that's a lot. Yeah. Then not having a venue to work with locally as well. Yet that was obviously another barrier, isn't it? I mean, how have you sort of sourced out spaces to to do your shoots, like your music videos, photography,
Yes.
things like that?
Yeah, good question, actually. Well, firstly, sounds like a super mom, Charlene, super mom there, you know. And my hope is that you can find a venue more locally to be able to offer the things that you do on a local scale. I think for myself, one of the things that I did, Sam, was I actually opened up my own space. You know, here's the thing, actually. I think one thing that I probably didn't make as clear as I could have during my talk here today is adversity and problems, adversity and, you know, and being able to solve problems is a very key part in whatever you do as a creative. So being able to overcome adversity. And I think one of the things that I found was finding safe and suitable spaces for me to be able to conduct my creative work as well, films, music videos, like you mentioned, Sam. And so in 2018, on top of me quitting my job, I actually opened up my own space. I put money together, put my savings together, and actually opened up my own commercial space, my own photography studio, to be able to actually give myself a place to actually work. Because throughout that time, it was very much a struggle to get accessible spaces for good rates, and it was very difficult. So in the end, what I then decided to do was actually, you know, take that investment in myself a little bit further and actually open up my own space, which has served myself and, you know, thankfully the community pretty well, to be honest with you. But it's never that easy, and it's not something that, you know, everyone can do. I think the good thing is to look around, to ask, to knock on doors. Every community has, you know, a local authority, and they're sometimes a good place to start, to speak to them about spaces that might be available or can be offered at subsidized rates. Anything like that, I think is important to try to do. Even some organizations like schools and, you know, community centers will offer their spaces outside of the work they do, you know, for a small rental fee or something like that. But it's very important to look at your options and get creative. You're in the creative industry now, so it's all about seeing the problem, but knowing that there's always another way. And I think I'm testament to that because, you know, traditionally, I guess, before going into my industry, I kind of faced that imposter syndrome that many creatives face because, you know, a lot of my colleagues, they've got, you know, film degrees or they've studied music engineering and stuff like that. And so if you don't have that, if you haven't gone down that academic route, that traditional academic route to get into your creative field, sometimes you may feel like you don't have what it takes. But if you put in enough hours and you're still willing to learn, then there are alternative routes to still get in there. So same with the spaces, same with anything, you can find a way. It may just take a bit more time, but you will get there.
Yeah, and the imposter syndrome is definitely there, even if you have studied creative at uni as well. So yeah, I think it's there all the time. But Paul, you were waving, did you have a question?
Yeah, that's great, Albert. I was just going to say, why not, it'd be great to hear a particular project you might have just finished or you're working on at the moment. You know, just put it into a bit of context of, you know, we've heard a lot about the journey, but, you know, what you're doing now, I think, is quite important. And, you know, is there a particular job you want to just briefly mention, or what you're working on at the moment, just to give us a bit of an idea of what you're actually working on and how that works for you now, and who the client is, and what equipment you're using. Yeah, have a bit of context to where this journey has led you.
Yeah, most definitely. Okay, so I think one particular project, which is a current one, which is good to know, is to do with a regeneration project that Bedford Council, Bedfordshire constituency, have hired my organization to come in and do a documentary, which is being used to highlight the lack of opportunities for young people in that particular area, with safe spaces, places to go outside of school and to learn. And it's funny because growing up as a young person myself, I mentioned earlier, you know, at the time growing up, I had access to youth centers, I had access to organizations that would do extracurricular activities that actually were almost like the seeding grounds for me to be able to develop my ideas and to develop my passion for the creative industry and to be able to create. But now, fast forward to today, there are less centers like that, less organizations like that. And so Bedford has a big issue at the moment with young people leaving school, leaving college, and not doing anything with themselves. And sometimes, unfortunately, finding themselves down the wrong road and getting themselves into youth violence and things like that. And that goes for the boys and the girls. So they've been working with the big local and Bedfordshire Council to fund a project, which is a 10-year plan to actually regenerate the town of Bedford. And so this documentary is to actually highlight to the parents, organizations, the whole constituency, the issue that is actually on their doorstep that they may or may not be aware of, and to encourage people to actually get involved. Now, the reason why I bring that particular project up is because, again, now, you know, because I've worked as a young person, I'm able to actually go in there, not just as a documentary filmmaker, but actually go in there and actually engage with the young people myself, you know, the people that I'm actually working for, to help tell their stories and kind of empathize and understand, you know, what it is that they want to do. Perhaps maybe they want to be, you know, one day in the creative industry making their own films, or they want to be able to go into engineering, or whatever it is that they want to do. But they need to learn how to communicate better with adults. They need to know how to work together as young people and as groups. And so I can offer some level of understanding and communication and work as a conduit between myself and my clients, who are the you know, the council leaders and the people that, you know, their policies and their laws affect these young people, you know, and the things that they wish to invest in actually affect them. So I'm able to, I guess, communicate with the young people, but also help to communicate to my client, you know, what the needs are through verbal, but also through film. And another thing is that, you know, they want to use this documentary as a pilot to actually give other boroughs around the surrounding boroughs, Buckinghamshire and other places like that, Milton Keynes, who have the same issues. They want to use that as a pilot to actually solve some of those problems as well. So I think there's 3 levels to it. You know, the communication side, that the fact that I've been a young person myself, worked in the corporate sector as well, and using those skills and being able to, you know, communicate with execs in the jargon that they will understand as well. And also, I think 3 is being a creative and seeing the vision before going into that job, seeing the vision myself for what impact I would like for this documentary to actually make, and the positive social impact that I would like for it to make. I think those are the 3 things that I could probably identify as the key things for me to be able to actually do my job effectively.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. I think Zachariah's got a question.
Hey everyone, no, thank you.
Hey.
I've had a ton of questions, and as you've been speaking, you've just answered them one by one. But one that is sort of in the back of my mind nonstop is, I always sit here and wonder, like, when a smaller sort of creative company goes out and sets up shop, and I sort of look at the way how I wonder how they keep the ball rolling in terms of work and clients,
Good
especially
question.
in contrast to like big companies who are always getting work.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you what your approach to like keeping the ball rolling and like making sure you have work so you can be a creative and have a company. How you approach that?
That's a fantastic question, Zachariah. So one of the key ways that I've been able to keep the ball rolling is by offering my services for business to business, but also business to client. So that using that two-tier system, whereby yes, we work with organizations, and yes, we effectively work with the likes of local authorities and other organizations, but then we also are happy to actually provide audio and visual production for, you know, creatives like musicians, other filmmakers or script writers that want to develop their scripts into short films. So having a diverse client base has helped us. I think if we were more, I guess, specialized to just one type of client, at this point, as a small business, we would find it very, very difficult to survive effectively. But because, you know, as my business partner and I just spoke about this actually just a few days ago, you know, if a cafe contacts us to do their marketing and to provide an ad versus a script writer who wants to, you know, develop their first short film, we will take on both of those jobs. Whereas larger organizations may have the effectively the freedom at that point because, you know, they've already got to a position where they can actually be a bit more selective with the kind of work that they do. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have values and value drivers within our organization. So there are still key things that we want to maintain when it comes to dealing with clients and the type of work that we do. However, yes, to answer your question, to survive, we've had to take on small jobs, big jobs. It really doesn't matter. If we can offer it and we can do it, we will do it. Because as a small business, the key thing is just to sustain yourself and to continue to be able to grow. So all type of work is very important. And I think, Zachariah, actually, what you've actually asked me just reminds me of some of the challenges that I've faced as well when it comes to being a small business and the structure of everything. Because some of the challenges we've faced is, you know, because we have to take on other jobs in order to survive. Some jobs may be a month's contract, some jobs may be just a day, some jobs may be just a week, and it's how to navigate that and to still be able to deliver for each and every client. That's really the key thing. That's, I think, quite challenging for us. Sometimes, you know, experience has taught us a lot, and we're a lot better at those things now, managing, but that has also been quite a challenge as a small business. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
No, thank you. It certainly does. I really appreciate it. A lot of good insight.
I was just going to say, Albert, you've mentioned before as well about you kind of relied a lot on freelancers, didn't you, to kind of grow and take on those bigger jobs because your time is finite, isn't it?
Definitely.
You've only got so much time in your day. So would you say leaning on freelancers is another great way to kind of and build a network of them to help you out?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, that's actually just reminded me, you know, one of the things that I did during my journey was I offered the skills that I could offer during, you know, my time as a freelancer. But then once I became a business and we had clients look to us for, you know, professional audio and visual production, you know, I can't be in two places. And so it's very important that I tapped into my networks, tapped into my relationships, the other freelancers that I had worked with or had hired previously. I was able to collate that, provide an address book, and actually offer jobs to other people to keep the business going, and to also give them a way to, you know, for employment as well, effectively. So that was one of the key things that actually helped us to grow, especially over the past 2 or 3 years, having a network of freelancers who, you know, we could double up as filmmakers, or we can double up as audio engineers or editors, and that really has helped as well. So really do invest in your relationships, and really do understand that, you know, no relationship is dead. What I mean by that is, you know, even if you've worked with each other just once, many years ago maybe, but you know that they're still just a phone call, email away, and you can get the help that you need and the expertise that you need, if you're willing to, you know, put your hands up and say, hey guys, I've got work here, I just need some help. And as a small business, people will come to your aid.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's great, like having that reciprocal relationship with people as well. I mean, we have it at where I work, you know, we have food photographers who have recommended clients that have come to them to then use us to put everything together for them and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's also kind of having that network within the industry as well as kind of within the community. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. Oh, that actually reminds me, what you've said there is perfect, actually, Sam, because that's another thing, actually, we sometimes forget. It's not just about what we can offer, it's also other people can offer something to us. I've had jobs where I've been a director on set, I've got a runner a job, I've got a lighting person a job, a gaffer, and then later they've been hired as a gaffer or a runner on another job, but then they may need a videographer, and then it's like they're offering me work as well. So I'm now stepping into other people's production companies and being able to get work as well. So it really is about you know, the ecosystem in the creative industry, and collaborative work is very important.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm aware that it's 7 o'clock, so I don't want to keep you guys any longer. Are there any other questions? Feel free to just dive in if you have any last questions. I have put Albert's details in the chat as well, so you can follow him on Instagram, LinkedIn, have a look at the website as well. All the great stuff that he's doing across multiple different businesses and channels and things.
Thank you.
So yeah, if there's nothing else, then I will say thank you so much to Albert for coming along, and for you guys for all coming as well. As I say, the recording of this will go up on the Tern Heads platform, which you can join for free if you're not already a member. And yes, hopefully we will see you guys at the next Tern Heads event.